Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another one-off podcast from the Link in Bio universe. My name is Rachel Carton, and I write a newsletter all about working in social media. Today, I am chatting with Zaria Parvez, the person behind Duolingo's meteoric rise on social media. The decision to put someone in an owl costume? That was her. As you'll see in our conversation, the magic of Duolingo wasn't just in the viral posts. It was that they empowered a young employee to really just run with it. Yesterday, Zaria announced that after 5 years at the company, she's leaving. I flew to Pittsburgh to catch up with her about that decision. We talk about what she's looking for in her next role, why she's really into slow burn content right now, and what brands should really be doing when they want to be more like Duolingo. I've known Zaria for years, I consider her a friend, and I always learn something when we chat. I hope you enjoy our conversation. It's lovely to be in Pittsburgh.
Welcome.
I know. A
Yinzer
really
country.
humid day.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Especially coming from LA. I feel like you go from hot to humid is a very...
It's a lot. Okay. Do we start with the big news?
Yeah, I guess. I'm leaving Duolingo after 5 years of being the social person there. It is now time to fly.
How are you feeling?
I'm so excited.
Okay.
I think there was a lot of there was a big mix of emotions. I feel like obviously it was my first job out of college. So no one really teaches you how to quit a job. Mm-hmm. So that was its own okay, this is how you submit your 2 weeks and this is what you say. But I also think it's just I think some of the best career advice I ever got was you don't want to stay in high school forever. There's a reason why high school is only 4 years long. And not at a dig at anything, but it's just I feel like I did everything I really wanted to accomplish there. And it was those were great days and I want to continue to see even greater days. And I honestly think in February when we killed Duo and it just blew up, mm-hmm. I was this is the culmination of the strategy. This is everything. And after that, I was just I need to now challenge myself and just move on. And then I think the other third thing that I was okay, this is how I know it's time to go, is there is actually this study about the art of virality, where essentially it's we think it's super subjective a lot of the times, but there's actually a lot of objective features to what can make something go viral. Mm-hmm. And there's I think 5 different things. One is has a character, Duo. Mm-hmm. One is helpful to a human host, and there's emotional connection. And so I kind of want my career to be dictated around hitting 5 of those things at different points. So I was okay, character, check. And now I'm focusing on helpful to a human host, which sounds very robotic. But
yeah. What are the other ones?
I have them on my iPad. Okay. Genuinely useful to human host.
Okay.
Easily imitated by human brains. Answers interesting questions. Features a character people can focus on and elicit a strong emotion.
Okay.
So those are the things you need.
Okay. You're going to have 5
viral.
jobs.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to do each of those.
And we're on number 2.
Exactly.
I'm curious. I feel like most people listening know your lore. But I'm curious, what, just for those who don't know, what did Duolingo look like before you got there? And how are you leaving it?
So, okay. So what's crazy is when I first joined, Duolingo was not an it brand. They did cool stuff, but it was I remember when I joined out of college, I was hey, I got this role. And I actually had an offer from an advertising agency. And everyone pretty much was you're stupid for moving to Pittsburgh and doing this. Why would you not go the agency route?
Yeah.
Have all these brands, big brands. And I think for me, it was really taking a bet on a ship that I think was going to sail really well. And it took time. I think people see oh, Zaria out of college and TikTok. It took us me 2 years to figure that out. But when we started, Duo had, I actually looked this up recently in my as I'm drafting my goodbye post. Instagram had 300,000 followers. Twitter had 370,000 and TikTok had 35,000. And now 4.6 million on Instagram, 1 million on Twitter, and 16 million on TikTok. So for percentages, that's TikTok was a 45,000 percentage growth. And then Twitter was 170%, which is still a lot.
I mean, for a platform that most people say is not doing too well.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's just crazy to see those that growth and just I think when you're so in it for the 5 years, you forget about it. Yeah. And now it's oh, holy shit. That's a lot of people. And that's just followers. So yeah, the growth is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. you've done a lot of interviews where you talk about specific, strategies and posts that you've done. And like, I don't know, I want to go like a little bit deeper. And I'm curious, I think when you work in social, it's impossible for your identity to not be a part of it. And, I think you create a strategy for a brand, but you put yourself into it as well. What has that been like for you? And as you're leaving, like, how do you think about how much of your identity you put into Duolingo social?
I feel like it's so hard because I feel like like Duolingo comments was like Zaria's humor.
Right.
Like that's just like those responses were just like one-offs coming in my head. And even now, like I started as like the only social person. 2024, we got Kelsey, who started as our first full-time. We had some interns and like freelancers in between, but like first head count.
Yep.
And that was the first time I really had to explain like gut instinct into strategy. And it was like really hard because it's like, how do you, like, there's just a humor and a brand voice. Either you get it or you don't. And it's actually funny because somebody asked me like, what's the hardest goodbye been for you at Duolingo? Like as I'm leaving. And I was like, it's the mascot suit. Like saying goodbye to that is like it's almost like a mask is coming off in a way.
Yeah.
And I think like just figuring out how to like navigate that has been really interesting. And like, I think like what I am really proud of is like, yes, there's a bit of an identity crisis where I'm like, am I Duo? Am I not Duo?
Yeah.
Like, am I Zaria? But like, I think being able to take, when I was like back in 2021, I took ownership of the work on LinkedIn. And that's kind of when I blew up there where I was like, I'm Zaria. I'm like the Duolingo owl on TikTok. This is what I've done. And I think what's funny is like looking back, a lot of people will tell me, they're like, oh, how did you get permission like to write that and do that? And I was like, I didn't know you had to ask for permission. Like, it's like so many of these things that I just didn't know. And I think having that has allowed me to like almost grow in public with like a lot of people, like including you. Like you've seen the ups and downs and kind of be like, yes, I'm Zaria from Duolingo, but now I'm also like building a personal brand and growing as a social person and like going through this crazy ride like so publicly together that it's like helped me kind of differentiate. But like it's gonna be weird. I'm like, it's gonna be weird seeing other people post things and being like, that's not what you're supposed to do. But yeah.
How did you go about like working with Kelsey to like scale that humor and voice?
So I think a lot of it actually came down to the interview process. I think one of my talents, one of my superpowers, I should say, beyond like content and all that fun stuff is like finding the right people to make a creative team of like, what is our goal and what do we want from them? So, I mean, the take home task for Duo was like huge. And I pretty much like one of the asks was like, you have to build like original lore around Lily, one of the world characters. How do you do it? How do you go about it? So really seeing how people like use trends, but also use like their original ideation and bring it to life was super important. And I think like humor is so core to Duo, like who we are, that like seeing like, do they have that like laugh out loud ability? Do they have that thing where like you like stop the scroll? Like these things that you hear, but really it came to life, I think, in the take home task.
That's a good take home prompt. I feel like honestly, a lot of the interview process for me is like, yes, seeing not necessarily, examples of their previous work, but how they articulate it. Or so like, how do they articulate the humor? How do they articulate the lore? And like, can they even explain lore and why that brand that they love is using lore?
100%. And I think like for me, it was cool when like people would reference, and I'm sure this like is pretty universal, like brands that like people don't really know about or things that they're just exploring and excited about. And you can tell. I feel like you can tell when someone's like in a groove and is excited to be there versus like someone who's just like and freezes. So yeah, there's a lot of telltales I think I figured out in the past 5 years.
I'm curious how your mental health has been over these past 5 years. I know you've like written about it a little bit.
I mean, it's been a genuine roller coaster, I think. Like, again, first job out of college and to like receive some of like the highest accolades was like so exhilarating, so exciting. Like, holy shit, like people see me in Pittsburgh. But it was also incredibly exhausting. And it's like weird to almost talk about that because people are like, how can you, like, you're Forbes 30 under 30. You got like, how can you be like, this is too much? And I think there was a part of me that felt like when people grow in their 20s, they have time to explore. And like, I almost felt like I was quickly thrown into like selling my ideas, defending my work, all of a sudden navigating super tricky internal dynamics that like came with the territory of having such high visibility like early in my career that like you maybe learn after 5 years, but like all of a sudden I'm like a year into this role and like I'm now talking to the CEO about like why I believe in this and like defending my work to like someone on like design studio who doesn't understand like what's marketing about, what are we doing to the owl. And I think like I was junior enough that a lot of people struggled to see me as a leader, yet like innovative enough that people depended heavily on my work. So it just like that combo was really isolating, I guess. And it like, I think it made me grow up in a lot of ways too. And now know like, okay, when people come into social, how do I treat them? How do I make sure they're okay? But like, it's just, yeah, it's one of those things where culture is just dictated by the youth, and like youth tend to have more impact in social versus like being there for like 10 years and going through the reps. So like navigating that, I think, had the highest toll on my mental health more than like the incessant being online or like the always onness of it.
Yeah, I feel like we're always like empower younger employees, give them a seat at the table, but we don't support them in that pressure of what that seat at the table feels like. And also just working in social, not even an age thing, having to pitch ideas that sound wild and are hard to pitch in a way that make you even sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then they are the like things that move the needle. And it's like, that is really hard.
And it's weird because it's like, yeah, like you're trying, like for me, it's like being in tech, you're talking to like engineers about this and they're like, what are you saying? And I feel like when you're young, it's so easy to just be like, hee hee, like it's a meme. And I think that's also something where I needed to figure out how to be so confident in what I was saying that people took me seriously. Because like they're not going to take a young woman of color serious. Like that's just like I have every odd against me in that situation. So it was crazy. And like I did take mental health leave. Like I like went off for like 2 months and just like detoxed. And I actually think like that was the start of the end in a way where I realized I was like, shit, like what am I doing? Like what do I care about? What do I want to prioritize? Like what is next for me? Because I was so stuck in this incessant grind that I didn't even think about Zaria's future. It was just what's the next day of Duolingo Social going to look like.
And what were some of those things that you decided you would like to prioritize in the next role?
So I think it's just like strong vision and leadership. And then I also just wanted a really diverse team. Like I stick out like a sore thumb sometimes in Pittsburgh. And so I was like, okay, like how many people of color are like around me? How many people of color are leading the team? What does that look like? And how do we define culture in a new way? And then again, going back to like that study, I was like, I want to do something that's like one of those 5 things and kind of like, what would it look like if I didn't have a character? What would it look like if I just had to like start from scratch and be a builder again?
Cool. Do you feel pressure to like that people are going to be watching closely, like again, like in this way?
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel like, of course, like what, like I would too be like, what is she going to do next?
Yeah,
like, that is like something I think that keeps me up at night. But I'm also like, I feel like success looks so different for so many different brands in different ways. So I have to like keep telling myself that. And like, this challenge is like probably less external facing, but like I need to role manage like 7 people and like hire more, I'm sure eventually. Like that in itself is like its own like career thing where like I don't know externally if that like those growth and those moments will be seen as much, but like that in itself is like Zaria's growth in a different way. So I think finding new levers for success for me will be big because it's kind of hard to like outdo what was done in a way. Like I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do that again, but we'll see. Maybe.
That's smart. I feel like it's like, I'm sure there's so many companies that have tried to poach you that want to replicate Duolingo. They are like, we've got our mascot ready for you. And it's like, I think that's,
that was my like, first thing. I was like, no mascot, please.
Yeah, no. I think that's smart I love that. Like, I think, you know, it's a whole new challenge. And I think also to grow in social, learning how to manage is so important. And hard.
Yes. And I feel like there's very few leaders who understand social and have like done a good job at it, quite honestly.
Totally. Are you still going to post on LinkedIn and be thought leader?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a Substack now. The
I launched a Substack.
Friends.
Yeah. I feel like, so I've always loved writing. And I think like for me, I think the biggest joy that I've been able to bring truly is like growing in public. And I think I'm really excited to do that. Like I'm so excited to talk about like I was Zaria from Duolingo and now I'm Zaria from nothing now. And like I'm back to like square one and like what is that journey gonna look like? And I think there just needs to be like more vulnerability. I think also with like I think people think of like the social adventures of like all these like people who started and it's like I'm actually also learning. Like I'm 26. Like I still have so much ahead of me where I'm like I don't know what's going to happen or what will happen and I'm really excited to just like bring everyone along on that journey so it feels a little bit more real and not like unattainable or like they're like working on a different plane. Like nah, like I'm struggling with TikTok too. Like I'm struggling with the algorithm. Like I'm looking at other brands too to see what they're doing.
To go back to the news of you leaving, I'm curious as somebody who reports on social and looks at a lot of social, how that viral LinkedIn AI post might have either affected your decision or not, or just sort of like what that felt like also having Duo be, the darling. And then all of a sudden, that's how people sort of express their anger as a way. Yeah.
I think for me, it was one of those things where like what ended up happening is like that wasn't a problem or a challenge that excited me to fix anymore.
Mm.
And it was kind of like, all right, like this kind of feels like the bookend to the chapter and the strategy that I brought forward. And now like I'm down to pass it on to the new people who like are going to come and fix this and create something new out of it.
It was hard to watch as like an outsider where I'm like, I know that their social team doesn't align with this. And yet that's like where consumers go to complain. And I've always felt like that is so tough because on the one hand, I'm like, no, don't use social to like air your grievances with the brand. But at the same time,
like where do they go?
Works in a way. Like CEOs care about that public perception and that people are complaining there. And so I get it. I get it. And I always want to be like, it doesn't work. Don't complain on social. I'm like, no, it does. It does.
And like, yes, it does work for everyone. Yeah, for everyone listening.
I think it's like a common sort of feeling that on social, small teams, we're notoriously under-resourced. But then there's like, if we do something too well, we will never get the resources.
And I think with social, what really did not work in our favor and like of my favor was like, I didn't know. I thought $5,000 in budget was a lot.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that community management is its whole separate role.
Yeah.
Like I thought you do that and like
you respond to the comments
and nobody stopped me.
Yeah,
and like that was the pain where I'm like, why didn't someone just say like, girl, that's like a 5-person job. And I think there's like a cool thing of being like, oh my God, I wear all these hats and I did all this and it's a 1-person show. And then I was like, no, all that indicated is I didn't value myself. I was paid very well.
Yeah.
I was treated like I never feel like my compensation was never like, oh my God, like whatever. I think it's just really hard when you just start so junior for people to respect you. And I think that's just like, unfortunately, like just how life goes. And there was also a lot of growing up. I'm sure like it's such a one-sided conversation. I'm sure there's moments where Zaria had crash outs and they're like, oh my God. Like, here we go. But again, the biggest gift I gave myself was building that external personal brand because I think at the end of the day, like what almost matters more, I think is that external chatter versus like what's going on in a Slack channel. And like, I think that has helped me like level head like these lessons that I've learned and what I want to take away with me.
When I reached out to you for like one of the like quarterly trend reports, you were like, I'm not going to answer this. Here's Kelsey. I thought that was like so nice and so great. And like a perfect example of like a manager knowing also that like contributing to outside articles and, reports or whatever it might be is a growth experience for someone under them. So I'm curious sort of what are some of your like management styles and working with Kelsey that you hope to take with you in your next role?
Yeah, I think like for me, the biggest thing is like giving credit where credit is due. And like if someone pours their heart into creating content and contributing, they should have the opportunity to speak about it, like period. And I think having those leaders to like follow and like learn from was so important. And I really think like a strong leader empowers the team to present publicly, pretty much also helping them build like their strategic thinking skills. Like you should learn how to talk about social and how to talk about it in a way that sounds smart. And I think a weak leader takes that spotlight away where they're so insecure or so nervous about other people like outshining them that it becomes this weird tit for tat. And then all of a sudden, like a leader who never worked on it sounds almost like incompetent because what they're saying is so vague and jargony.
I agree. There's a few companies that I've like reached out to like interview their social person for the newsletter, and I've heard that, so the social team isn't I don't know what the right word is, but like only executives get to sort of like do PR, and that's not uncommon. And so if executives, if you're listening, let your social people take the interviews.
Yeah.
Like
it's like such a small thing.
It's such a small thing, but it's so important, and it also will make the interview better because they worked on it and know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a really great point. Okay, another strategy, but like bigger picture question. The amount of meetings that probably all social managers have been in where it's like, we need to be more like Duolingo. And we've talked about this of like actually replicating. And yeah, I think that probably 70% of the mascots were born out of like Duolingo's success,
like
maybe
so
more.
Crazy.
And so when you hear that, what do you think? Like, and when I hear that, I think there's strategies and like philosophies that make Duolingo social good. It's not just that they had a mascot. And so what are some of those strategies that you think brands should actually be taking from your success at Duolingo?
So I think like first comes down to like process, like lower approval processes and letting people take the reins. The second, like you don't have creative freedom or fast approvals, like just stop trying.
Yep.
Like genuinely,
Totally.
like it's just impossible. But I think wanting to be like Duolingo is meaningless if you don't have a destination. And I think like people really admire the results, but like let's chat about the journey. Like let's really chat about it, because like it was not easy getting there. It was like one person for a long time being extremely like burnt out, trying to figure out how to do it. A really scrappy team of like people just willing to jump into this mascot suit. And I think like if you don't know where you're going, distractions will look like opportunities. And I think being like Duolingo is like understanding like the opposite of like risk taking and being brave is not being a coward, it's conformity. And like, if you start trying to be like every other brand, at some point you're just no becausing instead of like yes anding. And I think there's like just no shortcut to the solution. And like one of my favorite quotes, which I'm going to read now from my iPad.
Let's get it.
Is the athlete knows that strength comes from the 10,000th repetition, not the first. The parent knows that trust builds through bedtime stories read with the same enthusiasm for the 100th time. The artist knows that mastery emerges from the willingness to fail beautifully, repeatedly, until failure teaches you something failure alone can teach. So I think like letting go and being okay with falling flat is being like Duolingo. Like we're only looking at 10% of the story. Like an overnight success like takes 10 years.
And I feel like I've scrolled back on Duolingo for reporting purposes.
Yeah.
I feel like it was language learning videos. And then there was like one day, clearly, where you tried something a little bit different. Like, was that post truly like, can I just try this thing?
Yes. Like that's what I always try to communicate. Like people think it's like this insane strategy deck. And I'm like, no, it was me being in the office, seeing Michaela next to me and being like, I know like nobody really like, she wanted me to like focus on other social things like Fan Art Friday and like, like that stuff. And I was like, can I just try this? She's like, yeah, I'll record you. Like, let me just do this 10 minutes between meetings. And I'm like, okay, great. And like, let me go for it.
The state of social right now, like what keeps you up at night? What excites you? Let's talk about it.
So what I'm really grappling with is that I think brands in this so I started to do it 2020. Now we're at 2025. In these 5 years, brands understand that they need to be on TikTok. They understand they need to be on social.
Yep.
And I think what that has done has created this insane saturation of brands on social.
Totally.
And you're just like, everyone's doing every trend. Everyone's commenting everywhere. And you're like, okay, what works then is not going to cut it now.
Yep.
And there was this Substack I was reading. But it's called Etymology Nerd. I don't know if you've heard of it, but essentially discussing like the difference between like looking at how we communicate as people. And there's like ritual communication and ritual view and transmission view. And the ritual view is really about like when we communicate in media, when we talk about things, it's really about like, we did things to maintain oral tradition and storytelling and just like the ritual of building community. And now we're at this point of transmission view where it's like, who can hack the algorithm the fastest, who can get to you the fastest. And efficiency essentially replaced ritual. And I think what we're going to see now from brands, and we're starting to see it, is like people going back to that slow burn. And like, that's where the writer's room comes in. That's where now everyone all of a sudden is an entertainment house and all of a sudden has these like multiple post like series. And I think there's really something powerful about reclaiming that ritual, and the brand to do that effectively will be the next it brand. And I genuinely believe that. And it's happening. Like you've reported on it. Like you've seen like Built's done it. Like people are starting to try into that. I don't know if anyone's like unlocked it to like the virality success that it can be, but my prediction is the next big brand will be the one that unlocks that content house.
I agree. I think I wrote about that, and now I have a reporter that's like wanting to write about it and like asking about it. And it's like, what's the ROI on that though? In like this kind of way. And I was like, I mean, awareness and eyeballs and entertainment, and the brand is fueling that. Like, what do you mean? What's the ROI? Like, what's the sales going to be? It's like, how, what? Like, what?
And I think that's like where the whole, or all of marketing comes together. I'm like, maybe, just maybe, social's about brand awareness.
I know. I'm like totally in that. And I feel like it's so hard because I started doing social 2013. It was like you use Instagram to, have all the stories you want to tell, and you talk about your new products, and you can do all these things on Instagram. And it was like kind of amazing because it was like it worked and your followers would see it. But now with the algorithm, the way it works, I'm like, no, tell one story like really well, or like.
And the thing is, people are going to inevitably start craving what they've lost. Like people are catching on now. Like this algorithm is crazy. We're getting like someone once described like the algorithm and the amount of like content we get fed at us is like being shot, like the bullet to us, with how much is coming at us. And I think it's just a matter of time before people are like, okay, like we want a slow burn versus this insanity.
How do you convince a company to invest in that slow burn when like the virality feels so good?
We'll see on my next chapter. No, I think a lot of it is like a mix. Like I think you're allowed to do like give them some of what they want and then cook in the back with what you actually want to achieve. And I think that has been a really productive way to go about it. We're like, all right, here are your couple wins of like me interacting as a brand. But like this is like the experiments. And I think it's a bit of that like grinding and expanding. Like this is the grind and this is where I'm going to expand my reach and seeing where we can go.
You can be a brand that is so online that you're the first to react to something. I think like people say that like Loewe is social so good because they're clearly just like the first to do it. I think Duolingo was also like that. And what that type of team structure and like mental load looks like versus, a Built that's building like a lot of success off of like it's tiring in a different way for sure. But I almost feel like that's like that ritualistic is also a more sustainable social manager as well. In a good way.
I think it really jumps into this territory of like empowerment versus exploitation. And I think in like the short term, I'm sure like the chasing trends is going to do really well. But again, it's that long term of like, if I want to maintain a great team of people I've trained, curated, and understand our brand tone, I need to look at them on like a 5-year prospect, which sounds insane, I think, for some brands. Like a lot of tech too, they're like, we don't keep people for more than 2 years. Like that's just how the turnover goes. And I genuinely feel like speed is important now, but now that every brand is doing it, is it really that important? Like,
right. I feel like it's, again, I wrote about this as well, but like tension, and it's like, the brands commenting was funny in a time when not many brands were commenting, but now when that's the norm, where's the tension in that?
Yeah, it's a situational irony. Like going, like it's just, you need that excitement, you need that, wait, what's going on? And that's why I think some brands are like, I still think like brands responding in cultural moments where it really makes sense obviously works the best. But like, I do think like a new revamp of social is going to be, like, I really do think we're on the cusp of that, of like, we've really exhausted like brands taking over this human persona. And I think it might swing back to people wanting brands to just stay away and be a different type of slow burn and like understand you're a brand, understand you're doing something else. We don't need you to be as relatable as you were trying to be before.
Yep. And I guess like, my trends are a certain thing to me, but it's like, do you remember every brand that was doing like the Nicki Minaj, like balancing trend? Like, no, not at all. And like, it just, and in fact, I think like there's like sentiment of a trend coming across for the 15th time that like I watched it, but did I feel good watching it?
100%.
It was cool to see like when Duolingo, I know you talked about the writer's room a little bit. And it's like, that was fun to see that those performed, I thought, quite well. Like it wasn't like,
those were not considered successes.
Really? I think they were.
Thank you. Thank you, girl.
Well, that's sad. Okay, but like to me, it was a success in the parts of social media that you can't measure, where I'm like, whoa, they're like growing up a little bit of like they're able to script a show in a way that typically people would say like, oh, that's too produced or whatever it might be. And like, it's working. And like, to me, that is a sign of success. And
thanks, girl.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Let them know.
It was a success. Okay. Should we do a little fire? What is it called? Fire? Why did I call it fire round? Is that what it's called?
Boom, boom.
Let's do a little quick paced questions. Okay. What are some of your favorite brands to follow right now?
My favorite brand on social right now is Jellycat.
Oh my God, same.
I have always been obsessed with them. I think they're so smart at like 3D rigging up their plushies and figuring out how to like.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, they're like rigging them up and
no,
these
they're
like
not.
100%.
I thought they were just animating them.
I mean, I'm sure they're
regardless, they're putting some serious effort into these like cute
craft.
skits.
They're putting craft into this,
and
so like
good.
It shows that craft can be just as successful as scrappy.
I love that. Biggest social media pet peeve:
content clean up. Do not use social as a crutch to get impressions or like optimize things.
Yep,
because something else didn't work.
Something you wish every CMO would understand about social media.
Your community is your insurance policy. So invest in them, curate them, take care of them, because you don't know when you'll need them.
Favorite poster campaign you've ever worked on?
I loved when TikTok was being banned. There was something about that community that was back, and us revealing who wore the mascot suit was just like a fun tension.
Yes. Wait, can you talk about the thought process of like revealing who was in it?
Yeah. So Mark Pavic has been like my OG duo suit guy since day one.
Like fully, he's like in it most of the time.
Yeah, like now it's different. Now we have dancers and like people who can move.
Of course.
I know, right? Naturally. But like we were just like, we've been through it together. And I was like, everyone's responding to TikTok ban. How do we do it in a way that's like people just don't expect? And I was like, we have to reveal who's in the suit. And there's a lot of conversations where like, do we say it's Dua Lipa? Do we do? And I was like, Dua Lipa's done. Like it's oversaturated. Like we've done that joke. And so I remember it was like a Friday and we work remote on Fridays. And I called Mark and I was like, dude, you need to come to the office. Like, please, like we need to film this. He's like, bet, I'll be there. So it was me, Mark. And then I messaged our CEO, Luis. And I was like, we need like the OG band needs to come back together. Yeah. So I messaged Luis. He's like, yeah, I'm down. And then Legal Steve. And we're like, we're going to reveal Mark. And then we're going to do like a goodbye TikTok. And I think it was like the start of the end. I think of that like nostalgia, but that was like my favorite content of like revealing him, because a lot of people don't expect that. They're like the Disney magic. And I'm like, fuck the Disney magic.
Exactly.
Like, people want to see like what's going on. And he became like his own lore. So that was like one of my favorite things. And he like deserved it. He did so much for me wearing that suit. And I was like, Mark, you deserve your moment on the internet.
Is it hot in it?
It's so hot and stinky and it smells a little bit like Mark forever. But that's okay. I kind of love it. I kind of want like
He's left his mark.
Oh my God.
Sorry. What do you love about working in social media?
I think chasing those creative highs, like when you have an idea that you know is like, oh, this is gonna hit, and like let's go for it. That's my favorite.
I agree. Can you give us a hint at what's next?
I would say it's like a social person's dream. I got resources, a team, creative freedom, and the best is yet to come.
Yay. Thanks for chatting.
Oh yeah. Thank you for iPad down. This iPad. I feel like a boomer, bro.
I like it. I liked it. It was like I studied for this podcast.
Exactly. But thank you for having me.
Of course. Where can people find you now?
Oh, well, obviously on LinkedIn.
Obviously.
Substack, yes, Substack. I have a Substack called Make It Go Viral, and we'll see if I can make shit still go viral.
Thanks so much for listening to my conversation with Zaria. If you want more, subscribe to my Substack called Link in Bio.